Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Ketki. I'm from Guru Nanak Eye Center. So my topic for today is everyday bedside teaching for residents, a must. What is bedside teaching? It is a part of clinical rounds where both student and instructor attend the patient's bedside to discuss the case or demonstrate a clinical procedure. And the students have the opportunity to see how the attending physician relates to the patient, and they also receive hands-on instructions. So as it has already been said, Sir William Osler's words that to study the phenomena of disease without books is like to sail an uncharted sea, while to study books without patients is like not going to sea at all. And medicine is learned by the bedside and not in the classroom. Sir William Osler was actually one of the founders of Johns Hopkins University. There are three domains of learning: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. The cognitive domain, that is knowledge, can be acquired from books, but affective, that is how you feel about it, and the psychomotor domain has to be learned at the bedside. The challenges in bedside teaching for a teacher, as it has already been highlighted, there's lack of time, uncontrolled environment at the bedside, lack of teaching role models who will inspire you to teach, and there's decreased value of teaching in general. For a trainee, it may be lack of time, negative learning environment, fear of making mistakes, or difficulty discussing differentials, discussing awkward details in front of the patient, and not knowing what is being expected from him. And the changing nature of the teaching hospitals, the shorter admittance, daycare patients, that is why the more load coming on the treating physician. Plus, there's a vicious cycle. These days, people tend to go less to the bedside and more to conference room presentations, which has to break. People have to go more to the bedside and less to conference room presentations. The discrepancies in perception, especially for the physicians who are younger physicians, they feel that they are being demeaning and burdening to the patients. Whereas it has been found in studies that patients, most of them, they actually appreciate bedside teaching because of the extra time and insight given to their medical situation. And as you can see, even pediatric patients are quite happy. And there are no indications of increased stress. This is actually according to studies. There's an article in 2014 which actually says this. And they report to obtain a better understanding of their disease, and they actually rate the residents as more competent if they are able to present properly bedside. And it is so memorable. If a certain sign is being demonstrated at bedside to a trainee, he will remember it for his life. And some experiences, they may not be even clinical, but they are likely to be remembered. And it is possible that you prompt some new information from the patient that may even actually change the management totally. About the evidence, there is a recent editorial by Dr. Santosh Honavar in 2019 IJO, which is actually back to the bedside, and it emphasizes bedside teaching. There's another one in 2018 IJO by Dr. Grover et al., which emphasizes bedside teaching. And the Stanford School of Medicine in their Skills Symposium 2020 has also emphasized this. And even the American Board of Ophthalmology has given the ophthalmic clinical evaluation exercise, which is actually how you rate the residents based on their bedside evaluation. In my experience, at our center, we give a lot of emphasis on bedside teaching. Conventional clinical rounds with bedside teaching are still practiced by consultants and residents, and case presentations on a daily basis by postgraduate residents is done. So, I would recommend that bedside teaching has to be structured before, during, and after. It reduces the risk of possible discomfort from the side of the patients, the trainee, and the trainer. And we link the learning on the rounds to other learning by assigning topics or short talks or giving assignments. And there should be a code of conduct. There should be no whispering in the patient's room, no telephone calls, no laughing at the patient or his responses, and the behavior has to be respectful. Thank you. I acknowledge my faculty and postgraduates for this presentation.